This new Superman figure from Mcfarlane Toys is everything I was hoping for when it comes to a 2.0. I am so glad that they are utilizing this body buck that was introduced with the Earth 2 Superman figure. And honestly, this body buck is just the better updated body buck for a Superman figure that we have been needing in this line for quite some time. Before this body buck was even introduced, we had a period where they were reusing the infected Superman body buck, and in the beginning, it wasn't a bad body buck, but over the course of a period of time, you start to notice that the proportions are not the greatest, the height scale is off, and overall, this was just not the best body buck for a Superman figure. And even if you look back at the original Action Comics 1000 Superman figure, that body buck is also showing its age. Now, I don't have the original version in the dark blue. I have the repainted version from the Atomic Skull 2-pack. And as you can see right here, this was good 5 years ago when it comes to this body buck. But after all this time and more figures came out with newer sculpts, it didn't really work well with some of these newer figures. And now, having this new Superman figure and comparing it to this, Action Comics 1000 version, which of course is not the original one, but nevertheless, you can compare the two body bucks together. This new one is an improvement for sure. Now, before I talk about the figure, let me just talk about the accessories really quickly that are included. And unfortunately, the accessories for this Superman figure are the same two hands that came with the Kingdom Come Superman figure and, of course, the 1940 classic cartoon Superman figure. So that kind of sucks. They didn't give him any more accessories. It's just the same two hands. He does come with the figure stand, and you do get the two cards because this is a Mcfarlane Toys digital figure. And also to note, these figures went up by $3. They were $24.99. They are now $27.99. So keep that in mind. Price increase and lack of accessories. And no flight stand. I would have preferred if they'd given him a flight stand over the regular figure stand. But luckily, I do have a bunch of these flight stands, so I will display him on the flight stand later in the video. And with all that said, let's take a look at this figure. Now, just like the other two figures before that utilize this body buck, there's not much I can really talk about when it comes to aesthetics, when it comes to like sculpt and all that stuff, because it's the same figure mold. And honestly, since it is a comic book Superman figure, it's going to be very simplistic. And that's good. That's all I wanted for a 2.0, was just make the design, the same as what everybody recognizes with a newer body buck. And that's it. That's all I want. An update like that. And that's exactly what they did here. Now, I do like what they did with the S emblem. You can see this sort of like black border line around it, which is really cool because it makes it stand out even more. So I do like the way that they did this. And I like the fact that the reds are very vibrant looking, the bright red on the trunks. And you also have the yellow, which I do like the yellow color on here. Now, I do have a tiny little QC paint splotch here, which is unfortunate, but it's not too noticeable from a distance. And the blues are just beautiful. I love this bright blue. It is not the same blue as the Earth 2 Superman blue, as you can see right here. This one's like lighter in a different way. This one's lighter in a more, I don't know how you would describe it, but just, I like this one more. So there's a difference there. And if we take the repainted version of the Action Comics 1000 Superman figure, it's a similar blue, but also different. But I do like the fact that it is a brighter blue, so that's pretty cool. And of course, he does have a clawfire cape, which is nice to see. And on the back, he does have the S emblem logo, which is a nice thing because for some reason, in the past, they didn't do this with the Action Comics 1000 version, which, I guess it wouldn't work on a sculpted cape, but I do like the fact that they finally have the logo here. And recently, I did do a review on the Supergirl figure, and as you can see, she also has it as well. So it just feels complete. And it's not oversized, it's not too small, it's just the right size for the S emblem. And it's very different from the Earth 2 one, because the Earth 2 Superman figure, his is like big. So pretty cool. And I like the fact that there is this like black outline as well. Makes it pop. So there is that. And now, the only new thing on this figure is technically the head sculpt. And let's take a look at that head sculpt. I like the way this head sculpt came out. It is a much better head sculpt than the Action Comics 1000 version. For me, I prefer this head sculpt more. I don't know why, it just looks better. I guess it really depends on which head sculpt you prefer, but I do like the fact that he does have the S-curled hair going down his forehead, which is such a nice thing to see. And he does have a little bit of the blue highlights, because this is to match with, of course, the source material on the card. Let me just bring that in. Pretty cool. So I like the fact that he does have that. And yeah, it's just a very nice head sculpt indeed. And here is the other Superman figure, so you can see the differences between the head sculpts. It is very different. I don't think the head sculpts are like reused, because the nose definitely looks a little bit different. Even the way that it's painted is different. And yeah, overall, really love this new head sculpt. This one is still good, but if I had to choose between these two, definitely going with this new one. So, love that. And that is basically it when it comes to aesthetics, because there is really nothing else to talk about with this figure, since most of the body buck itself is not a new body buck. We've already seen this a couple times. So, all right, let's talk about articulation really quickly. So standard articulation as usual. His arms can go into a T-pose. He does have the butterfly joints, but the butterfly joints are not really the best on these figures. I always felt like they were just there to cover the gaps in between the arms. So yeah, he does have double jointed arms, so that's good. He does have the swivel up here, which is good as well, very loose. And he does have articulation in the hands, so, they do move. There is a swivel, and there is a swivel with the ball joint as well. As for his head sculpt, he does look up. And I think that's pretty good. Now, if you lean him back a little bit more, you can make him look up even better. So when you get him into some sort of flight poses, it'll work even better. He can look down, so that's not too bad as well. He can turn his head, left and right. He can tilt his head, so there is good range of motion with the head sculpt. As for his torso, he does have a little bit of a looseness with the torso, and I've noticed this is like the running sort of problem with this body buck, is the fact that every single copy of the Superman figures that I have with this body buck, they all have like a very loose sort of thing here. I don't know what it is, but at least it's not broken or anything, and he can rotate. So the upper torso does have a sort of movement, but it's not the best when it comes to crunching forward or leaning back. So that is the downside to this body buck. It is a good body buck for Superman, but it does have its flaws. And in terms of the articulation in the waist, you do get a good range of movement there as well. It can... Actually, it can't even lean forward. Oh, no, it can lean forward a little bit. But leaning back, I think, is also limited as well. So there are certain flaws with this body buck. So keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about the legs. In terms of the legs, he can spread out pretty good. So you do get that range of motion. If you want to do a kick, he can definitely kick out good as well, which I like seeing, because some figures can't seem to kick when it comes to their leg articulation. He does have double jointed, as you can see right there. Very tight, by the way, on this copy. So if you do feel like it's frozen, do heat it up to loosen it. And of course, he does have feet articulation down here, and there's a swivel up here, and there is toe articulation. And another thing that I like about this body buck, at least with this one, is the fact that the thigh swivels, they move. Because sometimes with Mcfarlane figures, their thigh swivels do not freaking move. It just stays still. It's like frozen. So yeah, this one, it does move. So that is very nice to see. And that is basically all the articulation on this Superman figure. The same articulation we have seen before with this body buck. So there is that. Alrighty, now it's time for comparisons. And there are a lot of figures that I have to do comparisons with. So let's, of course, start with the Action Comics 1000 Superman figure and just show the two next to each other. So again, this is the repainted version. I don't have the original one. And let me get it to stand. As you can see, there is a difference in height scale. You clearly can tell that that older body buck made him way too short. And, you know, seeing these two next to each other, it just feels like they really did it. They really wanted this new Superman figure to put this one into retirement. And that's not even a joke. Like, that feels like that's what this new Superman figure is for. It's like if you've been wanting to kind of have like a Superman figure that can stand out on your shelf better than the original Action Comics 1000 Superman figure mold, this new one right here literally just comes in and just throws the other one into retirement. So as you can see, there's a difference between these two figures in terms of scale and also the body bucks. And the body buck for the newer one is just a better body buck, in my opinion, than this original one. So there is that figure. And of course, here he is next to the Earth 2 Superman figure. Pretty cool. And yeah, quite different in terms of source material, of course, because, you know, one is an older Superman from a different Earth. And yeah, I'm just glad that this Superman introduced this new body buck, because this body buck is just the one that I've been wanting to see in this line. Something that just can work for Superman and they can utilize for Superman figures after, right? And thank God for this Earth 2 Superman figure for happening. So there he is. And here he is next to the Kingdom Come Superman figure that I did review recently. And of course, he is also reusing that same body buck. And yeah, quite different when it comes to source material again. This is a much older Superman as well. So pretty cool to see these two side by side. And you got the darker blue here, you know, lighter blue. So there's that. Here he is next to my other favorite Superman figure that came out recently, the 1940 classic cartoon version. Let me see if I can get him to stand. There he is. Okay. There he is. There they are next to each other. And, you know, I've been debating if I should make some sort of like tier list ranking my favorite Superman figures from Mcfarlane Toys. And that's going to be a hard one to do now, because this new Superman figure came out of, like, you know, nowhere when they dropped that announcement back when they did. And I was like, holy, like, what is going to be my favorite Superman figure now? Like, because I love this 1940 one, and I also like this new one as well when it comes to that traditional Superman figure. So, you know, oh, there's going to be a lot of biasy here, isn't there? Okay, so there's that figure. And now, let's have the recent Supergirl figure next to this Superman. And as I've said in the Supergirl review, I honestly think that this Superman figure goes well with the Supergirl figure on the shelf, because the colors match up more, and yeah, it works. So you know, that's my preference. But in the end of the day, depending on which Superman you want on your shelf with this Supergirl, you know, it's all up to you as well. So, but I'm just showing you this is a potential option here. So there is that. And now here he is next to my favorite Superman figure. Will always be my favorite Superman figure, number one, because of sentimental reasons. The armored, unchained Superman figure from year one. And yeah, these two figures are quite tall. And I can picture this Superman, the new one, wearing this suit of armor if he needed an armor. So yeah, there's that option. So okay, I think that is all the Superman figures, and of course Supergirl figure that I am going to put him next to. Now let's bring in some other figures. So let's have him next to the first appearance Batman figure. And honestly, they don't look bad together. I don't hate this. I actually like this first appearance Batman figure more than I thought I would. And these two go good together as well. So, pretty cool to see. And here he is, of course, next to the black and gray suit Nightfall Batman. Now, he is way taller than this Batman, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess it really depends on, you know, scaling. But to me, this is kind of off because, you know, Batman's not this short. I don't think he is. He's only 6'2", and then Superman's like 6'3", so they're like that different in height. So, but if you want to put them next to each other, that is an option right there. So there's that. And of course, here he is next to the collector edition Wonder Woman. And hopefully she stands. Okay. And pretty cool. They do scale okay. Finally, a Superman that isn't shorter than Wonder Woman. So there is that figure. And you know what? Let's bring in this other figure as well, since we're comparing all these figures. Here he is next to Power Girl. Hopefully she doesn't fall. Okay, she's going to fall. Power Girl is still taller than Superman. Yeah, they made Power Girl way too tall. But hey, nevertheless, these two look good together as well. So there is that option. And now on to some members of the Justice League. Here is the Flashpoint Flash figure next to Superman. And yeah, since this Flash figure is like the closest thing to like a classic looking Flash, he is definitely going to work with the Superman figure. Now, Superman is way taller than him. I don't actually know the height differences between these two characters, but I think it still works. It doesn't look too off, so there's that option. And here he is next to the Silver Age Hal Jordan Green Lantern figure as I bring him in. And again, the scaling is also a problem here, I guess, depending on how you view it. He is taller than Hal Jordan. But nevertheless, fits in nicely with this comic design for Hal Jordan as well. And I don't have my other Aquaman out. I only have this one from the Plastic Man build wave. So I don't really know if this will work. Maybe it can work, but here he is next to this Aquaman figure. So there's that. And last but not least, here he is next to John Jones from the Rebirth design. And that's not too bad when it comes to, I guess, a Martian Manhunter and a Superman figure together. Now, of course, you can tell that this is more of a modern design and the Superman is more of like a classic looking design. But I think it could still work because if you missed out on that other version of Martian Manhunter where you had the different costume, yeah, this one I think is still going to work well on your Justice League shelf. So there is that option. Now, let me show him on the flight stand really quickly. Just get him on a flight stand. and have all these figures together to see what kind of Justice League shelf this would look like if I were to utilize all these figures. So let's put Superman in the back right there. Okay, let's bring in Wonder Woman on this side. Okay, she does not want to stand. Okay, there we go. She wants to stand. And then here is Batman on this side. For some reason, these figures do not want to stand today. I do not know why. I have no clue what's going on here. Okay, there's a Trinity. So if you want to go with this sort of look, you can do that. Here is Green Lantern right here. Let's put him in the front. Here is the Flash. So, yeah, you can kind of get a shelf working with some of these figures. It just really depends on what you want to do. But this is an option. So, really cool. And I really like this. And let's take these two out and then also show the Martian Manhunter and, of course, Aquaman. So, yeah. It really depends on what figures you use, but you can get a Justice League shelf going when it comes to comic book designs with this new Superman figure. And that is basically going to be the review for this Superman figure. If you found today's video informative, do give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on the channel, you can. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.